The Nuremberg Tribunal, which prosecuted Nazi leaders after World War II, set the benchmark.
Slaughter committed by these defendants was dictated not by military necessity, but by that supreme perversion of thought, the Nazi theory of the master race.
That was the American Benjamin Ferencz in 1947, and today, at 96 years old, he is the last surviving Nuremberg prosecutor. He has dedicated his life to accountability and the rule of law. In light of persistent war crimes committed today, we reached him where he's retired in Florida. Ben Ferencz, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
You are 96 years old now, but what a history you have had from being a young soldier in World War II and then liberating many of the concentration camps. I wonder what impact that had on you then and today.
I'm certain that it had a permanent impact on me, not merely because of the emotional reaction to seeing what I've seen as a liberator of concentration camps, dead people lying all around. You couldn't tell if they were dead or alive. The crematoria going, the bodies stacked up like cordwood before the bodies, before they are burned. But it's certainly the traumatic effect has remained with me because I have dedicated most of my life, practically all of my life, to trying to prevent that sort of thing from happening again. In short, to prevent war making itself.
And in the absence
It'll happen in every war.
Indeed. In the absence of stopping war making, maybe making the rules of war stick and insisting on accountability. You were recruited to be a prosecutor for the United States. You did one of the last trials of the Nazis. I believe 22 people you tried, and they were all found guilty. And I believe they killed more than 1 million people between them. I want
That's
you
correct,
to tell...
including hundreds of thousands of children.
Oh, my goodness. From your perspective, what is the importance of the accountability process, the war crimes trials?
The importance is the difference between life and death. We are now living in a world where the capacity to kill other human beings was incredible. In the days when I was a combat soldier carrying an M1 rifle, we have the capacity from cyberspace to kill everybody on this planet. And if we don't learn to organize our affairs so we settle our disputes without the use of armed force, we're going to destroy everybody on this planet. So it couldn't be more important. I'm a believer in the rule of law. The Harvard Law School gave me their highest medal of freedom. I appreciate it because the previous recipient had been Nelson Mandela. And so I've been trying to use the law as an instrumentality to prevent the illegal use of armed force. And I see that as the only salvation that I can contribute to in making it a more humane world.
Today, when we see what's happening in Yemen and the emaciated figures of so many people who the war has prevented from getting enough food and water, and obviously, it looks a lot like some of what you found in the concentration camps, those skeletal figures. I wonder if that resonates with you as well.
Oh, absolutely. When I was a prosecutor in the biggest murder trial in human history, I was then only 27 years old. But I made the pitch. I said the people there, the 1 million people, thousands of children shot one shot at a time, were killed because they didn't share the race and the religion and the ideology of their executioners. And I thought that was a horrible thing. And I've been trying to prevent it, and we see it repeated again. The scenes you describe from Syria and elsewhere in Africa and other parts of the world are repeating themselves because they have been unable to accept the rule of law. They haven't had the vision to see that it's vital for their own survival.
When it comes to Syria, we're now nearly 6 years into a war which is proving to be more and more brutal, particularly against civilians. The Russians and their allies using bunker-busting bombs, children being massacred, and now the United States and the UN and others are suggesting that war crimes are being committed. And, you know, when I asked the Russian foreign minister about this and showed him pictures about what his bombs are doing, he said, well, this has to be, you know, adjudicated in a court of law. But these people don't seem to want to be presented to a court of law. What would your advice be?
My advice is to recognize that you cannot kill an ideology with a gun. That's what they're trying to do. But people who are prepared to kill and to die for their particular cause, whether it be nationalistic or religion or economic, you can't threaten them with imprisonment. That they become martyrs. So it's necessary for us to recognize that there's got to be a better way, and there was after the Second World War. They decided after about 100 million people were killed to set up an international criminal court. And that court would then settle the disputes between states and between individuals. Crimes are committed by individuals. And if there is no one to settle it, because each side is ready to die for his cause, and there is no third-party intermediary which can have a fair judgment or reach a compromise, there's no choice for them but to continue killing each other. And that's what they're doing, not only in Syria, all parts of the world today. And I'm pleading with them, stop the killing. You cannot continue this way. Turn to the rule of law. Even if you get a bad decision, it's better than the war as I have seen it as a combat soldier.
Well, it is amazing to see your passion and your commitment and your sharp legal mind at the age of 96 and after so much that you've done. So what would you say then, and how do you feel about what looks like, you know, the beginnings of the dissolution of the International Criminal Court? Because we've had African countries pull out, Mr. Ferencz. We've had, you know, Gambia and South Africa and Burundi and now maybe Kenya and Namibia. And they're saying, hey, this is biased. This is humiliating us Africans.
It is not the dissolution of international law that you're pointing to. You are witnessing the downward scope of a spiral, which is spiraling slowly upward. It goes down, and then it comes up again. The amount of progress we have made is fantastic. And I see it from the perspective of a man who's been working on this all of my life. We have international courts for the first time. We have changes the way people think. That's our basic problem, to educate people, to be willing to compromise, to have more compassion, to be prepared to accept a compromise. Either you have a court with enforcement powers, which we haven't even started to work on under the United Nations Charter, or you're going to have to change the way people think. They will recognize this is a horrible thing, and it's an absolutely horrible, stupid thing, what they do now when the heads of state don't agree. They send young people out to kill other young people they don't even know, who may have done them no harm, may have done nobody any harm. And when they get tired of killing each other, they pause, they declare victory, they rest a while, then they start again. That is the current system. It's crazy. It's absolutely stark raving mad. It's genocidal homicide and everything else I can think about. And it'll take a while. And what you're describing are the ups and downs, which are inevitable, regrettable, and the longer they delay, the more pain and suffering they will have.
And one final question on the International Criminal Court. The African leaders say that it is biased against the continent. They probably mean it's biased against them. But yesterday I was speaking to the UN Human Rights High Commissioner, who said, you know what, it may be biased against leaders who are committing crimes, but it is there for the victims.
The court was not there built to defend the strong and the powerful. It was there to protect the victims. And any attack on it, no matter what the accusation is, ultimately is an attack on victims themselves.
What do you think? Do you think there are legitimate accusations of bias against the ICC?
They are absolutely absurd. The prosecutor of the ICC, Fatou Bensouda, is herself from the Gambia, a very lovely black woman. Zaid, Prince of Jordan, who's a High Commissioner for Human Rights that you quoted, has been dedicating his life as well to building up the International Criminal Court. So the thought that a black person would be the prosecutor and deliberately excluding everybody except black defendants is absurd. It's just, but they don't recognize that the main problem is you can't arrest. You don't have the power. You don't have the mechanism to arrest the president of the United States or the prime minister of Germany or Russia. We don't have the physical power. We have no institution set up to give us that power. The result is what you're getting now. Everybody does what he thinks is his own best interest, and they have no other alternative other than to use armed force. which is getting more and more deadly all the time.
Ben Ferencz, thank you so much for joining me. That was a great pleasure.
Okay. I look forward to hearing or seeing your broadcast.